Hi there, and welcome to this week's edition of the Gersnet Weekly Podcast with myself, Colin Armstrong, hosting this Monday night. It's the Independent Rangers podcast made for fans, by fans, where the content is absolutely free. It's episode 58 of the podcast, and we're a night late. We were supposed to be on last night, obviously, but we had some technical issues with the YouTube system that wouldn't let us stream live. So we're out here tonight to look at the Livingston game and a wee preview of the final game on Thursday. If this is the first time that you've listened to the pod, we would ask you to get the word out there on social media and all the rest of it. And please subscribe and leave a comment and all the rest of it. We're live tonight. We're live on the YouTube. You can leave comments on the comment section there. It's interactive. But you can also download and stream the pod on a variety of platforms, including Acast, iTunes, YouTube, Castbox, Stitcher, and Spotify. So as I said, we're a day late after the problems we had last night, but we're still here, we're still live, and we'll have a look at the Livingston game, the 3-1 win on Saturday there. We'll have a wee look at the departure of Mark Allen, a wee discussion around that. We'll have a look at the Feyenoord game, big European night under the lights at Ibrox on Thursday. And a wee discussion around memorable European nights that we've all had in the past. So let's get on to it. So joining me tonight, we've had to have a wee rejig of the lineup tonight. It was supposed to be David Wren who was hosting tonight. We were hosting last night, but he's unavailable tonight, so I've had to step in. So big apologies to David, because I know he was keen to get his presenting debut. Hopefully he'll be back at another time. So we've had to bring in the gaffer. We've had to bring in Stuart Franklin. How are you, Stuart?
Hi, Colin. I'm very well, thanks. Looking forward to having a wee chat. It seems like ages since I've been on. Too many good contributors nowadays to let the amateurs like me on.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, actually. No, I am. Of course, I'm only joking. It's always good to have you on, Stuart. It's always good to have you on. And also joining us, we've got Iain Leaper. How are you, Iain? Have I pronounced your surname correctly there?
You have, Colin, yes. It's good to be back.
And how are you? Were you at the game on Saturday?
Yeah. It wasn't the greatest of games or performances, but I think, like we said, we've got the 3 points, so hopefully things will improve.
I think it's a sign of how we've improved. That we're only 3 points behind. We've only really had one blip this season, and we're all a bit grumpy and groany. This time last season we were already 7 points off the pace. So, but we'll go into that. We'll get in about the bones of it now, and we'll get stuck in. Right, Stuart, I'll come to you first. The starting 11. Now, I've kind of got into the habit of sort of predicting the team and putting it out there on Twitter and stuff like that before the game. I thought he would have introduced Kent later on in the game. I must admit, I was a bit surprised at his inclusion. Left back continues to be an issue. I thought Barisic would have figured, and still no sign of our 3.5 million internationalist defender in Hollander. So, what did you make of Gerrard's selection on Saturday?
It was quite interesting, wasn't it? I must admit, I kind of thought Hollander might have came into the team as well. The only problem is, I think, as much as Golson obviously made a mistake against Celtic, him and Katic have done largely well this season. I'm not so sure if it makes sense to try a different defence out, a different partnership when we've got a big game this Thursday. So, in some respects, I could understand why he stuck with it too. The midfield was interesting. Clearly, Gerrard thought that Livingston were going to do as they did and sit in. So I think in some respects it made sense to have a creative midfielder. Arguably, there isn't any need to have two sitting midfielders. I think we might come on to ask if we actually missed Jack on Saturday or not, because our defence looked a bit unsure of themselves at times. But in terms of beating teams that sit in, I think that we need as many creative players in the team as possible. And again, I think that's probably why he thought, take a wee punt and start Kent. And I think it obviously went off injured, but he didn't look at his sharpest. I think that's fair to say that. And but all things considered, I think at the end of the day it was a good result. It was good to see a bit more character. I think that's a few times this season now where we've lost a goal, and I mean the Kilmarnock game as well. Kilmarnock obviously equalised with about 10 minutes to go, and we managed to get the points there. So that's something that we were doing last season that we are this year. So I think that's probably the main positive to take for Saturday.
Iain, with regards to the overall performance, how did you feel about it? From my own perspective, it kind of felt, I kind of felt it was going to be that type of game, a game where we might have huffed and puffed, and it seems to be that's the sort of level of performances we're getting at the moment. So how did you see it? Is that how you saw it in terms of the overall performance?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously disappointing. I thought, Frankie was speaking there about whether we missed Ryan Jack, and I think it's probably testament to the unseen work that he does that we were so poor, particularly initially. The whole defensive thing seemed calamitous to me, and that was concerning. And I know we spoke that Boy Dyke seemed to have a good game, but even with Jack missing, with Steve Davis here, you'd think there'd be a calming influence, particularly with his level of experience. But we looked quite brittle when they attacked us, and that was concerning. But we've already mentioned it, that the left back position continues to be a problem, and I appreciate that Borna was away travelling with Croatia. But in terms of our overall recruitment, we've signed winger after winger. Biggest game of the season, the manager goes without wingers. And we've got 2 out on loan in Hasty and Middleton, and you just wonder how somebody views that in terms of acquisition. What are the priority positions? What needs strengthening? Hopefully, now I can see why we've bought Ryan Kent, because I thought he was really good last season. He's the kind of player that can win a game, and I don't think we've had that for a long time. And it's really disappointing that he picked up that injury, but sod's law, I suppose. But I think with Ryan Kent, you've got a player that will attack defenders. I think the most disappointing aspect of the Old Firm game for me was we obviously had our shape wrong for the start, and we brought in 2 wide men, and they contributed very little to an improvement in the performance. They didn't attack their full-backs. They had 4 defenders playing in their first Old Firm game, and they weren't put under the mill at all. So, perhaps we'll be looking at Ojo in a few games' time, and I wonder if he'll be starting. The comments by the manager after the Old Firm game, I think Jordan Jones will be well down the pecking order. So, there's definitely scope for Ryan Kent and for Brandon Parker, who I thought took his goal really well and played well when he came on Saturday. Seen him before against us, and he was quite impressive. So I think there's more options there. But, overall, I'd still like to see us getting a settled back 4. And hope Borna's fit and ready to go on Thursday night, because I think having a back 4 that plays regularly together will cut out some of the lapses, because I still think our defensive record's not that great in terms of keeping clean sheets, and that's something that needs to change. When Walter came back, the first thing he bought was 2 central defenders, in Weir and Ugu, and he felt that no matter what you're doing forward, if you're not keeping them out, then you're going to have to be chasing games. And I think, I'd really like to see us keeping more clean sheets. I know Saturday was a wee bit different, it was a penalty, but there's a few ropey moments there as well. But I think that'll be key to any success we have this season. Will be certainly tightening up defensively, because we really need to start shutting teams out, particularly at Ibrox. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would say in terms of goals and Katic, I would say that's the worst performance I've seen from them this season. They really were all over the place at times, and you do kind of wonder if it is down to what you said there, Ian. The stuff that Ryan Jack does that you don't really see. Maybe even just positionally being in places to stop things from happening. But they were poor on Saturday. I thought the two central defenders and left back. I agree. I think that continues to be an issue and one we need to get sorted. Stuart, coming back to yourself, obviously a big thing about Ryan Kent coming back on Saturday. Deadline day deal, and came back for $7 million. I must admit, I grimaced a wee bit at the figure. I think if you're, down in England, that sort of money's 10 a penny, but up here it's quite a big investment for us. And then, as Ian was saying there, Sod's Law, 40 odd minutes in, pulls up with a hammy. Now, as I said earlier, I didn't think he would start. I thought he'd have been better being introduced. Is there a chance, do you think, that starting the game maybe contributed to his injury, given he's maybe not played a lot of football up to this point, or is it just one of those that could happen at any time?
I think you said it yourself. I think it's just Sod's Law. It's just a bit of bad luck, unfortunately. I mean, the good thing is he walked off. He felt it, and I don't think he tried to push it. Some players would try and stay on for another 10 or 15 minutes and try and maybe make it worse. So, I mean, obviously, it might be a lower category tear rather than anything else. So fingers crossed he's maybe only out for a couple of weeks, a month at most. The good thing is we've got plenty of players in reserve that can play that position. I mean, I was a doubter when we bought Barker. I must admit, I kind of thought he was a bit surplus to requirements and he wouldn't see much game time. And I was kind of surprised to actually see him on the bench on Saturday as well. I thought Greg Stewart would have been preferred because I think he's the type of player that you sometimes need in and around packed defences. He's got that good touch in and about the box and in tight positions. So I was kind of surprised to see Barker, who is like Jones to a certain extent, where he needs to run at players and needs space in behind. And if teams are sitting deep, then he can't really do his best work. But there was a bit of pressure on Barker when he came on. Obviously, everybody was on a bit of downer when we Ken getting injured. But the laddie come on and he actually had a really good game. He didn't do a huge amount in the first half. Didn't have a huge amount of time to do that. But the second half, the game opened up and that really benefited him. And the good thing about Barker is he seems to be quite similar to Kent in that he can go on either foot. So defenders are always kept guessing, has he got to go on the outside or come in into the pitch, and obviously did that at his goal. The defender wasn't sure whether to defend the outside, and he took a good touch, and it was a great finish actually, because he was getting, I didn't really notice at the time. I mean, I'm in the Broom Loan stand, and he got closed down quite quickly, but he got shot away in the top corner, and you really can't argue with his contribution at all. So it's, as I say, it's not good that Kent's injured. Nobody wants that, and the quicker we get him back, the better. But we've seen enough from each of these players. I mean, Ojo, Jones, clearly he's injured as well and out for a while. And now Barker, that they've got enough talent there to get us out of tough positions, and we just need them to be a bit more consistent. And that isn't easy with wingers. I mean, even guys like David Cooper were never the most consistent at times. So. Yeah, it's getting the best out of them that's going to be the task for Gerrard, and hopefully that's what you can manage over the next few weeks and months.
Ian, I mean, obviously just before half time came off, get to half time, nothing each. Another sort of, I think we've sort of said before we came on air, a kind of huff and puff performance. So you're expecting the reaction, and then 2 minutes in. Yeah. Livi get the penalty, so no argument about the penalty though. Do you think it was a stonewaller?
Oh, I mean, it's more difficult to me because I'm in the Copeland rear, but I spoke to a couple of boys in the bus who are in the main stand, and they said that they felt it was definitely a penalty. So take their word for it more than my eyesight. But there it was. It was in. But I mean, you're right. It was a bit of huff and puffing, but I thought, we were dominating the game without looking all that threatening. Although Alfie missed a couple of chances, you felt it was going to come. But when you go one down, you think, how are they going to react to that? But give them their due. They did react well to it, and we got in and we fairly coasted it in the end, although there was a few shaky moments. But 3-1 after being a goal down early in the second half, you can't sniff at that too much. Quite happy with that. It keeps us in it, keeps us going, and hopefully there's lessons learned and improve on that. But I think defensively we really need to start tightening up and being almost what's the word? Giving nothing away whatsoever. Too often last season we did that, and we really need to be quite thrift in that respect, giving people a look in. Though, as you say, it's a penalty, so it's one of these things. It's not as if we lost that goal from open play. So, yeah, it wasn't the most. I think people are disappointed because it wasn't a convincing performance, and there's been games where we have been convincing, against Hibs and things, but we seem to have regressed a wee bit in terms of those. I don't know whether it's just our optimism, but I mean, I think as somebody said, that boy Dykes played well, and he caused us a lot of problems. He just would have hoped that we would have handled that better. But I felt we did look calamitous at times defensively, whether that's the constant changing of the back four or the absence of Ryan Jack, I don't know. But I would have hoped we would do a bit more assured in our defending. But we are where we are, so.
I think, Colin. I think the weather actually had played a bit of factor in that on Saturday. It was really windy, and I think both teams sort of struggled to read the wind at times, and I think that was causing us problems, especially in the second half. And I think also it was mainly set pieces. We had issues that we struggled to pick their men up, but they were putting in good crosses and well organised set pieces. So I was a bit worried with the defence at times, but I don't think it was overly bad. Not enough to really worry about. But I think obviously the quicker we can get a proper left back, the better. I mean, I don't think Halliday does much wrong when he plays, to be honest. But neither do I think he's really the quality that we really need to bring trophies back. So you're kind of hoping that we can get Barisic in and playing as soon as possible with Flanagan out injured. So yeah, I think it's well worth criticising the defence, but I think there was factors worth mentioning in terms of why they were maybe struggling.
I mean, it was the usual sort of gnashing of teeth on social media on Saturday when I was coming home. I was having a wee look at some of the comments and, people not happy with the performance. But, my memory seems, we've got the image now of Walter Smith, for example, of winning titles and trophies. And the image is that every game we played flowing football. And I can remember under Walter Smith sitting through some horrific performances, even at Ibrox, you know what I mean? But, coming away with a 1-0 and all the rest. Is that not the sign of a team that is in with a shout of winning something? If you're not hitting top form in terms of your performances, but still winning?
Yeah, I'd agree with that, Colin. I mean, the thing is, I did think we were poor on Saturday, but I think there's a great room for improvement. And I think probably we're quite unsettled by the fact, as Frankie said, we've brought in this star signing and he's gone off injured. But the boy that came on played well, as Frankie said, and scored. I thought he took his goal really well. So I think there's room for improvement. We weren't at full strength in terms of our left back and Ryan Jack, who's been such a talisman so far this season, not playing. So I think there is room for improvement. I think that the question for me, the left back position is not just about the left back; it's about the balance in the whole team. Going back to the Celtic game, John Flanagan was in there. And I take my hat off to Flanagan. He never lets us down. He goes in there and he's a solid defender. But I think his limitation showed against Celtic. He was given a lot of space and couldn't really use it or bring benefit from it, and I think Barrich would have done that. And that's just John Flanagan's game. He's more a solid defender than an attacking defender, but I think we play in a system where we're needing our defenders to get forward and put pressure up the park. And I think, Borna probably would have done that. He would attack that space more than John Flanagan did. Then that's no criticism of Flanagan. It's just about horses for courses. But you could see Celtic weren't even bothering to mark him at some points, and he was getting the ball, and he had a lot of space. So I do think it's a position that needs to be a quality fullback in there, because it'll provide better balance to the team. And I think, another thing that's been commented on, Tav's not been as strong or as convincing as he was last season. Whether that's the absence of Candeas now or he's just having a bad season, I don't know. But, you can't keep relying on everything going down the right through Tav. You need to obviously change it around a bit. So see what happens.
Yeah. Stuart, I mean, when we went with nothing down, that seemed to be the thing that gave us that wee shake that we needed. And obviously Tav, as Ian said there, going to come on and discuss his form actually. He gets the equaliser. Now, I was sitting right behind it in the Govan rear, and I am convinced he's made an arse of that free kick. See, when he struck the ball, the way he'd shaped his body up, you're sort of picturing the trajectory of where it's going to go, and it went a different way what he was shaping up to do it. And I think he's shanked it for one of a better phrase. And that's what sort of threw everybody, and that's why it's ended up in the net. Because when he struck that ball, everybody around about me went, oh, there was that groan, and then, oh, it's in. So from where you were sitting, could you see, did he mean it or did he not mean it? Because I'm not convinced he did.
I didn't get meant to score, but if I shanked all my golf shots and end up in the hole, I'd be quite happy, I must admit. No, I thought Tavian had a better game on Saturday. I think he has had a fairly mediocre start to the season. Obviously, he's still contributed a few goals and some important assists, but I don't think he's played all that well, to be honest. I think I don't think he's been helped by Ojo and Arfield, who've played in front of him. Between the two of them, not exactly been fantastic either. But I thought Tav did quite well, certainly in the second half. But watching the highlights again today, there was some excellent crosses he put in the first half, and put 2 or 3 in. And then obviously he scored that goal, and he put in the corner for the second goal. So did he mean that when he scored? I don't know. I've no idea if he mishit it. It certainly didn't seem to be from the video highlights that I've seen. But and it was an excellent ball, and the goalkeeper didn't know whether to try and dive for it, or obviously was anticipating a touch for Aribo or Goldson, and again I'm in the blue one stand. So at first it looked like it came off one of those two rather than going straight in, but clearly the wind helped. The wind was behind us, so he maybe has sent it out a bit further right than what he thought, but because the wind was behind us, it's took it into the 6-yard box and ultimately into the net. And I think we're all delighted, because at that point, although we had up to tempo after the opening goal, we didn't really look all that dangerous. So we needed a wee bit of luck, and we certainly got it with that goal. And after that, we went on and looked a lot more confident, and it was a fantastic header from Morelos for the second, and obviously I've already mentioned Barker's fine third goal. So I think it was well deserved. I don't think we played that well. It was sort of a carbon copy of a lot of games last season. We had plenty of possession in the first half, but the tempo was far too low. I don't think it really helped having Arfield playing deeper. I can understand why he did it, but Arfield was completely ineffective in that role. He's much better playing up front where he can find spaces. Even if he's playing on the sort of edge of the game and isn't getting a lot of the ball, he still does enough to create chances and score himself. So I think he's much better further forward. But I think, as I said at the start of the show, I think we've got to take the positives, and I think winning after going 1-0 down and after losing Kent to an injury, I think it's something that we should all be very happy about.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Iain, the second goal from Morelos, I think it was Aribo that got the flick on. He comes in, scores a goal. He's just continuing to shine. I mean, outside, he's obviously yet to break his duck against Celtic, but that aside, he just seems to get better and better.
Absolutely, and I think we've seen it this season. He's not getting involved in any nonsense off the ball, or he's just laughing them off. I think he's certainly matured, and he's obviously buckled down. And I mean, I think he really is a talent. He just continues to impress. His use of the channels, his finding space. I mean, he found the space against Legia as well. Just great striker, fabulous finishing, and powerful play. Good use of the ball as well outside the box. He rarely gives it away when he gets it, and he really just continues to impress. Just what we need now is for him to get adequate service into the box, and hopefully with the likes of Kent being there and Barker, he can get that, because I think that'll be key. But delighted for him, delighted for his goals, and delighted that he's hitting the headlines for all the right reasons. It's quite.
There was one wee moment that on Saturday that really annoyed me. There was a wee incident with a Livingston player. I can't remember who it was, and he booked a Livingston player, but Wally Colin still felt the need to speak to Morelos when he hadn't really done anything at all. And it's always in the back of my mind that he's still, even though he never got booked, it was a talking to when there was no talking to required. And it seems to me he's still getting refereed to a different standard, that referees are still going out there thinking, this is Alfredo Morelos. The first thing that happens, I'm on him.
I think brother Colin was probably saying, look, the score, calm it down, and keeping them well out of trouble. But yeah, you're right, and there's no doubt about it. He's going to be. The BBC have done a fine job making him a marked man, probably unnecessarily at times, but he's going to have to live with that. He's fallen foul last season, and he's going to have to live with that. And only he, by his good behaviour, can break that. But I think you're right. It's not going to go away quickly, and until he gets a few games under his belt where he's not picking things up, and there's no reason for them to act. That's down to Alfie himself and his own self-discipline. So I'm sure, Stephen Gerrard's had a word with him, and the club fined him last season as well. I'm sure that he's left out of the Colombian squad. He's maybe these things are coming together, and he's starting to think, I've got to screw the nut here if I want to get a move.
Yeah, that's the point I was about to cut. He also never got his move, Yeah.
My temperament's got to be not a matter of concern for somebody that's spending 15, 20 million, and quite rightly too. You wouldn't be wanting a player pay that money for a player that's having to sit in the stands. So, maybe it's got all the experience and the discipline has got through to him, and he's certainly responded to that well this season. I don't think anyone can have any criticism in that respect. So delighted for him, because I think he's a hard worker. He's worked hard to get where he is, and he deserves to reap the benefits of that hard work.
Stephen, speaking of discipline, there was a red card in the game for Dykes, the Livi centre forward, who I thought did have a good game. I thought he causes a lot of problems. I don't think there's any arguments about the first booking. It might have actually been that incident where Morelos got spoken to. I can't quite remember. But what did you make of the second yellow? No arguments or debatable?
At the time, I thought it was a clear yellow card. It looked like he came through the player and obviously led with the elbow. I think it was Golson went down, and Golson doesn't really go down if he's not took a sore one. So I don't think I had much to argue about it. The video footage is a wee bit less clear. I don't know what the usual buffoons on Sportscene were saying last night about it, but to me it seemed a fairly straightforward red card. I mean, if Willie Collum's given it, then it must be because I think he tends to try and avoid it where possible against Rangers, if it's as long as it's not a Rangers player, obviously. But the first one was a definite booking. The guy Dykes is a decent player. He made a nuisance of himself all day. I think it's actually the hardest game that Katic has had all season physically. I think Dykes probably won more than his fair share of the long balls than what Katic has probably lost all season, to be honest. And Golson struggled up against him as well. So he had a good game. So that his manager must have been annoyed, but bizarrely he gave him a high five when he went off. So I don't know what that says about him, but it's the first booking was an easy one. As I say, he pushed over. I think it was Halliday when he gave a free kick, and it was just ludicrous. If it was Morelos that did that, then it'd be in the papers for the next 3 weeks. So I didn't think the guy can have much arguments. It's a bit silly because he spoiled what was a decent performance. Obviously, it was him that won the penalty as well. I thought he went down in instalments for that, but I think it was a pretty clear penalty. I think the reaction in our field and our players probably told Colin more than anything else in that respect. But a red card. I think we're poking fun at Colin, but I think he got the two main decisions right. It was a definite penalty, and I think it was a definite red.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think we've covered the Livingston game now. I'm having a look at some of the comments here. Keep them coming, guys. I'll flick through them and try and read some of them out as we go on. Stuart, obviously before the game on Saturday and Friday night, there was the unusual announcement that Mark Allen, our director of football, was to leave the club. Now it was quite sudden. I don't think anybody seen it coming at all. How do you feel about this, and how big a loss do you think he's going to be?
I guess only time will tell. I mean, I'd heard various rumours in the last sort of 6 months that him and Gerrard didn't get on, actually. The comments for the manager subsequently over the weekend suggest that there was a sort of mutual respect between the two, and it's difficult to tell whether that's just trying to keep things on the level to avoid any problems in the background. But I think again, let's be positive. When did Alan come into the club? I think 2 years ago, summer 2017, and in that time, obviously he wasn't involved in the Caixinha sort of debacle in terms of picking him as a manager. Alan came in after that, but I think the players that he's contributed to signing have been largely good. I think getting Gerrard in has been a good decision. There's other parts of the club under his remit seem to have improved. The youth seem to be doing very well. I think people are happy with the football operation generally. So I think he's done what he was probably asked to do. The question is, could you have done better? I don't know if the Rangers board have asked him that, and it's difficult to tell whether or not it's not so much a sacking, but a sort of both parties been happy to part the ways. It's hard to say. I mean, Stevie Clifford maybe be your best man to ask when he comes back for his holidays on that. He might have a bit more inside info on what's actually happened there. But generally speaking, I think he's done a decent job. But at the same time, I don't think it's the end of the world that we're losing him, as long as that we get a replacement. And again, I think Stevie posted on the forum just the other day there that there's a lot of guys were worried that maybe this sort of director of football strategy would be thrown to the wayside now with Alan leaving, but Stevie suggests that we will be replacing them. There's a few candidates out there, far be it from me to suggest anybody, but fingers crossed we get somebody in with a good record. I mean, obviously Alan wasn't a director of football in the first place, so it was his sort of first time in that role, so maybe this time we'll look to have a bit more experience. And a little bit maybe a proven CV of success at teams. And as I say, I must admit, I don't like change for change's sake. But if both parties were happy to call it a day, then it's probably for the best, to be honest.
Iain, what do you think? He's is he leaving any kind of legacy here, Mark Allen? But I mean, I think the obvious one is the arrival of Gerrard. But is there anything else you can think of, or is that the main legacy that he's leaving with?
It's a hard one to say. I think Frankie says, you don't know exactly what happens behind the scenes, but the arrival of Gerrard to me has been monumental, irrespective of the fabric that he's laid in place. The youth setup and things like that. Though that's important. I think this club needed somebody like Gerrard coming in who recognised what the expectations of this club were, and identified with them. And you can hear in Gerrard's press conferences, he obviously gets it, and and he expects players to get it as well. And I think that's been a real injection of positivity in terms of a manager coming in. As I say, the signings, I'm not crestfallen about it. I do think at times, you wonder whether there was a disconnect. I'm not saying there was disagreements, but you're bringing boys like Jake Hasty in, and they're getting farmed out on loan. I can understand why, given a plethora, but you wonder, in terms of priority, if that's what Gerrard was wanting. Glenn Middleton's away to Hibs, and Jake Hasty's gone down to Rotherham. They'll get good experience, and I think, Greg Docherty's spell at last season was at Hartlepool. I think he was at Shrewsbury. Has been very positive for him, though it's certainly not helped him screw down a permanent place. But you just wonder what's going on there in terms of recruitment when there's such a strong emphasis on certain positions, and yet the manager in the biggest game doesn't go with any. You just don't know. I mean, I've never fully understood the role, to be honest with you. I know there's a lot goes on. It's more than just the signings, but in terms of the signings, I've always wondered who actually calls the shots in that at the end of the day, because the manager's the one that's going to have to pick the players. So I agree with Frank. I think he's got more right than he's got wrong. But hopefully, with the recruitment they're talking, I heard we're linked with the boy, is it Ross Wilson again, who, I don't know if he's still at Southampton, but he was a name that was bandied about before Mark Allen was appointed. When we did mention the DOF role, we were going to go down that road. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there, and the calibre that comes in on the back of that.
Well, that's a question I could put to the two of you. Stuart, I'll come to you first. Should we replace him?
Aye. I think if you're going to go down the director of football route, then it's something that it takes a long time to commit to. I don't think saying let's do it for a couple of years, or it hasn't worked, let's go back to the sort of orthodox manager route. I think football's changed over the years. I think it's a very time-consuming job. I mean, guys like even if you just go back to even Walter Smith, they probably didn't do anywhere near as much media work or have as much attention on them as what people like Gerrard's got. So it's a really wide-ranging job nowadays. You've got your sports science, you've got your statistics. It's completely different. So I think clearly Gerrard's brought in a lot of guys. He's brought in people he trusts from Liverpool. He's got a big backroom team. Obviously, Alan was the one that brought in Gerrard as opposed to the other way around. I would imagine Gerrard might have an input in terms of who would replace Alan with, and that makes sense to a certain extent, because you didn't want to bring somebody in that's going to rub Gerrard up the wrong way, and I think it's important to get on. But at the same time, the director of football is the man in charge, so It's tough, but I think you've got to replace him, and I'm pretty sure we will, to be honest.
What about yourself, Iain? Is there any obvious candidates or outside the name you mentioned there?
No, I mean I don't really know who they'd be looking at. I mean I remember Ross Wilson getting muted previously when the role was announced, but no obvious other candidates. I do think they will go down the road of replacing him, because I think it's almost an admission that they got it wrong if they don't. And I agree with Frankie. I don't fully understand the role and how that interweaves with the managerial role and the signing of players until I saw it in black and white with the absolute remit. You're always wondering whether there's going to be avenue for conflict between the manager and the director of football, unless you do a Hearts and have a Joe role. But I think what you certainly don't want is any kind of animosity or disagreement. You've got a strong character in our manager with clear ideas, so you'd obviously want somebody that could complement that rather than be banging heads together. So it's a difficult role. They'll have to get the recruitment right, and I'm hopefully, as Frankie said, Gerard maybe have some input to who you can work with, because you imagine I think Warburton was a director of football for a while, and there seemed to be quite a lot of animosity when he was in that job. So it is something you have to get right, and when it's at the very top of the tree, if there's a disconnect there, then it's going to filter down. So it's probably a very important appointment in terms of who we get. That there's harmony there, and that's something they'll have to think about. And hopefully, they'll speak to Gerard about that, because it is strange. You've got this guy overseeing the whole football operation, and then a manager comes in and brings his own guys. You just wonder how that works. And I think the argument behind it was that, and I remember it, I thought it was quite a positive argument that, just because the manager changes, your whole football structure doesn't fall apart, in terms of people going in, people going out, like a backroom team. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
I think Southampton are a good example of when it worked well. I mean, for a while there, they seem to have it mastered. I know it's kind of went a bit pear-shaped of late, but they did seem to, they always bought cheap, sold high, and performed well in the Premiership. No matter who went in and who went out in terms of the manager, the philosophy was still the same. Now, obviously, they've struggled a wee bit of late, but I think they're a good example of if it's done right, it does work. But it'll be interesting to see, where Rangers go from here, and it'll be interesting to see if Gerrard has any input in it. So looking forward to that. I'm going to give a wee mention here. I've just had a wee look on my Twitter, actually. We've got CPRFC who's saying, "Hi guys, me and my buddy Gordon listening from New York City, sitting having a beer in Bryant Park. Hope you have a great show and all the best to the famous for the game on Thursday. Charlie," who's a member of the Tampa Bay Rangers Supporters Club. So we've got folk listening in the Big Apple. So thanks for listening in, guys. Hope you're enjoying your beer. So I think we'll move on to the Firewood game. Obviously a big night. Really looking forward to it. Love the European nights under the lights at Ibrox. And I must admit, for a few years when we were doing the journey back up the divisions and stuff like that, there was a couple of games I was at Forfar when we got beat in the League Cup. Excuse me, early on in the season. I think we beat 2-1 after extra time. I came out for that game thinking, these kind of nights that we're looking forward to on Thursday are never happening again. I was also at the Petrofac shambles with Wraith Rovers. Again, I came out for that game thinking, you know what, this is a new normal. We're never going to get back to these big European nights and winning trophies and stuff like that. So when we qualified for the group stages last year, I must admit I was delighted. I was delighted we've got in again this year, and a couple of big names in Feyenoord and Porto. So it's the Dutchmen who are coming on Thursday night. They won 3-2 yesterday against Den Haag. They were 3-0 up, and they nearly made an arse of it, brought it back to 3-2, and they've been a club that's been kind of in crisis over the last few years. I was having a wee look at some of their stuff today, just to bit of research for the pod. So first thing, Frankie, I'll come to you on this. Are you going to the game?
I'm not going to the game, unfortunately. I work at the university and the students are back this week. It was Freshers' Week last week, so work commitments mean I won't be going to very many midweek games over the next couple of months, unfortunately. Plus, I think I would like to have got the 3-game package, but I'm going to Florida at the end of November, so I would have missed I think it's Young Boys is the last home game, so I'd have missed that as well. So it didn't really make much financial sense to throw some money at that. I mean, my wife gives me daggers as it is. So no, I wish I was going, but unfortunately, I'll be the TV or the laptop for me on Thursday night.
And what should we expect for Feyenoord?
I think that clearly they've not had a fantastic start to the season. They're still unbeaten in the league, but they're only in 4th or 5th. I think they're quite a few points behind Ajax. I think it'll be a tough game. I think it'll be probably fairly similar to Legia, actually. At Ibrox on Thursday, I can't see them exactly coming out and having a go at us. I don't think they'll sit too deep. So this, in terms of your newfangled mid blocks, it might be one of these on Thursday. They've got a few players coming back for injury. I think Pete was saying just in our pre-pod discussion. So it won't only be easy, but I think at the same time we're more than capable of taking points off of Feyenoord, and especially at Ibrox. And so fingers crossed we do that on Thursday. I think if we can raise our game, play like we did against Midtjylland in particular, then I think there's goals there for us. And I think if we can score at least 1 or 2, I'm pretty confident that we'll start with 3 points.
Iain, Feyenoord, they're managed by Gerrard's old foe, his old Man United foe, Jaap Stam. As I said earlier on there, they've kind of been in turmoil for the last few years. Given that, are we favourites going into this game, do you think?
I think we would be favourites being at home, Colin. I think I looked at the league position. I think they were 7th before the game yesterday, so they've not made a blistering start to the season. But you know, they're at Ibrox, and I think we've been playing overall, particularly in Europe, we've been playing decent stuff. So I think with Gerrard at the helm, you're more confident than particularly with the success he's had in Europe. He seems to have that. He's certainly had it up to now, down to T. He's called it right in more of the games than he's got wrong. And I think in that respect, yeah, I think we could well be favourites. We're at home, and we've got a manager that knows the European setup, and he's done very well in Europe. His records, management with us has been excellent. So I think we're right to be confident, maybe getting a result against them. You know, these are the games we have to win. I have to say, it's like you, it's a real bonus. I remember going up to Station Park in Forfar, and the only thing that was good about that night was the Sadler Bridie. So having European nights again is great. But you know, I think for most players that the league's still the top priority. But it's good that we're getting these European nights. We're getting money in. The players are getting experience, and the club's getting good European-wide coverage. So yeah, it's all positive. And if we can get a couple of results along the way, and be even more exciting, you know.
I have to say, I went to Sadler's as well, and the bridies were the bridies were magnificent. We actually went in. We done a sit down job the day we went in, and she says we've no big bridies left. We'll just need to give you a wee one. She says right, okay. Sat down, and this thing was like an elephant's ear that landed on my plate. By the way, so if you're ever up and for give Sadler's a shout. Frankie, coming back to the job at hand here. Really close. We could argue that we should have qualified last season. I think the Moscow games were particularly damaging games that we probably should have won. Do we have unfinished business then? You know, do you think Gerrard will be thinking he could get through this group, and his qualification for this group realistic?
Yeah, I'm fairly confident. I think obviously we're one more season down the line, so more experienced. I think a lot of the players will look forward to travelling to places like Rotterdam and Porto and obviously Switzerland as well. And it's the good thing is they're not exactly far flung places to go. I mean, a couple of 2 or 3 hours on the plane at the most for Portugal. So I don't think there's a huge difference in terms of the quality of the group compared to last season. I think Porto are probably maybe a bit stronger than Villarreal were. Feyenoord are maybe similar to Spartak, and after that, I think Bern are probably similar to us in terms of standard. So I think it's a fairly open group, and I think the manager will be looking to be positive and try and qualify for it. It won't be easy, that's for sure, especially with our domestic obligations as well. So trying to rotate the team through that. It's going to be a busy fixture schedule, but the good thing is that the games are sort of spread out now, so it's not like the qualifiers where you're playing every week, every Thursday for about 3 months. It's we've obviously got like one game every sort of 6 weeks until the middle of December now, so you'd like to think we could cope with the schedule, and the squad's a bit bigger, and the manager's got all his own players now, so in terms of him there isn't much excuse either. So I think we've got to be looking to try and get through. As I say, it isn't easy, but it's definitely possible.
Ian, Stuart mentioned there the juggling, trying to manage the demands of the European campaign and the domestic campaign. Do you think Gerrard is good at that? Do you think he manages that? And should he prioritise one over the other?
Well, I know what I'd want to prioritise. But I mean, I think the funny thing, Colin, I was speaking about how we need to be more miserly defensively. We've done a pretty good job under Gerrard in Europe defensively. A lot of times we've gone away and kept clean sheets. I don't know if there's something different about European football that suits our defending. I don't know, but we don't seem to throw away so much. Quite a lot of clean sheets we've managed to hold. We've done it a couple of times already this season. So, I'm fairly confident that we can, like Frankie says, that we'll be up for the challenges. We've got a decent sized squad that we now don't know how that'll work. I would imagine that when we're going away, we won't. Maybe there'll be players that may have featured that won't feature. Particularly wide players, and they might keep it narrower and tighter. But I'm quite sure we've got enough there to cope both domestically and on a European front. And I think the thing is, if we start getting a sniff of things, I think there'll be considerable excitement, and perhaps we'll be willing to risk more players through the week than rather than holding back for the Saturday game or the Sunday game domestically. So I still think it's good. It's good experience for the players, and hopefully we'll get stronger. And I think we need to remember that we've got new players coming in. It's going to take a wee bit of time before we see the best of us, and I think that's what's quite positive so far with the start to the season. I don't think the football's been great, but I think it will get better as players get to know each other better and know the system. And I think there'll be players, to be honest with you, Colin, that'll fade out because I don't think Steven Gerrard will tolerate mediocrity. And I think boys like maybe Ojo in particular is going to have to be looking at himself and what he's contributing. And there'll be some players that will maybe fade in the way one or two have in the last season or so.
Yeah. Do you think we'll meet Celtic in the semi-final as predicted by Ball and Goalie? You know, he thinks Celtic will get to the last four. Do you think we'll get there?
I think we'll just take one game at a time and see what happens. Quite happy with that.
I want to know where Graham Spears and Tom English and all that are when Celtic players come out with statements like that, because if that was Andy Halliday or something like that, I'm sure they'd have plenty to say about it. Yeah. Are you going to the game, Ian, on Thursday?
No, I'm not going. I'm similar to Frankie, that work commitments. Our bus leaves just after 4, and I can't get away from work till 4:30. So by the time I'm up the road and showered, I'm cutting a wee bit fine, unfortunately. So
I'll be thinking about you for the Govan stand.
Yeah. Good of you.
Right, I think we've pretty much covered everything, guys. So before we wrap it up, conscious of time, I thought we'd come to both of you and ask for your memorable European nights. So Ian, I'll come back to you first. What's your most memorable night in a European night at Ibrox?
I think strangely I was standing in the old Celtic end. This is 70s, and we beat Juventus 2-0 at Ibrox. I think Gordon Smith scored. I can't remember who got the other one, probably DJ. But that was a fabulous night. I think I was about 14 or 15 at the time. And it was just, a huge scalp. Brilliant night. It was strange not being in the club, but the Coupler Road was getting rebuilt at that time.
Right.
I was in the Celtic end, and it was just mayhem. It wasn't even all ticket, you just paid at the gate in those days.
The gate, yeah.
So it was absolutely swarming, and just the atmosphere was fabulous.
Was it no Gordon Smith that got the other goal that night? I'm thinking about it.
Jake Smith got both of them.
I think it was Alex Smith, Alex McDonald and Gordon Smith. I'm sure it was wee Donny.
Great night.
I don't want to make you feel bad. I think I was about 4 at the time, Ian, but there we go. And what about you, Stuart? What's your most memorable night?
Rangers 0, Galatasaray 0. I think it was pretty much 19 years ago. It was absolutely pissing with rain, and I'd always drive through, and we got through later than usual because of the weather, so I didn't get a chance to go and get a bag of chips. So I went and got a pie, and I wasn't in my usual seat either. I was away up the back of the Govan, the Broomloan stand, Broomloan rear, like literally, I think the second last row. So I was trying to run up the stairs, missed the first couple of minutes, and slipped, and my pie and brown sauce all over my pus.
You know something, Stuart? I was hoping there was a tail there, because I thought, typical goalkeeper, all the European nights he picks an on each draw.
No, we had to go. If you want a good result, it's maybe a wee bit more relevant. We beat Porto 3-2. That was a fantastic night. Great game, great atmosphere, and hopefully get a similar result when we play them in a couple of months.
Yeah, I'm preferring your pie in the face story, though, to be fair. I'd have paid money to see that, to be fair.
I kind of thought that would be the case. That's why I brought it up.
Aye, I tell you, I'd pay good money to see Stuart take a pie in the face. But there we go. I think for myself, I loved the Leeds United game. I must admit, when the two teams came out that night, I've never heard a noise like it. It was incredible, and then for it to go so quiet after our now assistant manager hit an absolute perler for sort of 25 yards for the corner kick. But we done well. We came back into it, and 1-2-1, and I just remember it's just the noise that, and Parma the night we beat Parma 2-0. The noise that those games are just incredible.
What a legend John Lukic was that night.
Oh, he went to the Stuart Franklin School of Goalkeeping, I believe.
Steady, son.
But I'm already running the risk of getting sacked here, so I think we'll call it time there, guys. So thanks for your contribution. And that's it for this week's edition of the Gersnet Weekly Podcast. Podcast by fans, for fans. It's independent and free. Before we go, I should give a wee mention. I'm just following my Twitter feed here. Some sad news coming through that Jim Jeffries, the former Hearts manager, has suffered a serious heart attack and is currently in hospital. So our best wishes to him. I know he could be a bit of a dour bugger at times, but it was always quite a likeable character, I thought. So best luck to Jim in his health battle there. Next week, there'll be a show next week. Obviously, we've got the final game on Thursday night, and we're at St Johnstone next week. I'm going. I have tickets. I'll be in Perth next Sunday. So there'll be a show covering those two games next Sunday. Hopefully, we'll be live if there's no issues with YouTube. In the meantime, get yourself on to Gersnet and the forums at www.gersnet.co.uk. And until the next time, bye for now.